Well, hello and welcome to episode number 374 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's show, a 737 goes for a swim, United Airlines spends a few quid, and an 82-year-old is destined to head into space. In the military this week, the Colombian President's helicopter gets hit by small arms fire, the Pentagon still can't or won't explain UFOs, and the Swiss Air Force decides on the F-35 for its future fighter force. So, joining me this week in an already hot and balmy PTUK Master Suite studio, it is, of course, the man who's drinking a fine tin of vanilla stout this evening. It's Matt Smith.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Another day gone, as they say. Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome, episode 374 already.
I think that's your drink of the show now.
It
vanilla
is.
Stout
Yeah,
week.
I like the vanilla. The vanilla's good.
That is nice.
Good.
That is
That's
nice.
what I say. Yeah.
So how's things going with you this week? Well, obviously you had the radio on Sunday, didn't you? You had the show, and,
Yes,
which was lovely.
Yeah. Well, just back in the world of delivery this week. Oh, I passed my probation.
Oh,
yeah.
I
So,
thought you'd already passed that.
No. So I'm officially a fully fledged. I'm no longer a probie. There you go.
Oh,
You were never a probie
I thought that
anyway.
was a prison thing.
Yeah, no. That's a totally different conversation, Armando. One for PT UK after hours. That one.
Oh, blimey. Stay tuned after we go off the show tonight, guys.
Yeah.
But, oh, good. I'm glad you've.
But yes, yeah, nothing much to report really, other than that. Yeah, just muddling on, as they say, working and that. Back in the delivery team, which is my home. It's nice to be back there. I had to, talk to customers and stuff. Didn't like that. Didn't like that at all.
Now you just talk to wine.
Yeah, just talk to wine. No, I talked to Yodel. That's what.
Oh,
I
okay. Talk to Yodel.
That's fun.
The UK's finest delivery service.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Well,
Anyway.
Yeah, 96% success rate on first delivery attempts, so not that bad.
Okay.
Oh,
I believe you.
Carlos doesn't believe me.
Anyway,
yes.
we are missing a member of the team this evening.
We are.
Unfortunately, Nev can't be with us this week because he's very busy doing, as he does well, all his usual tech bits and bobs and stuff. I think he's redressing his studio or something.
Probably.
So.
Yeah.
So he can't be with us, but he does send his fondest regards to all the listeners. So he will be back, hopefully back next week. But we have, as Nev's not here, obviously, due to the contractual agreements.
Yes,
We have obviously got our other co-host of the show, the fantastic man that is, and he's got an amazing backdrop with a fan above his head. It is Armando.
Actually, it's not just a fan; it's turbo fan.
Right.
I would have said turbo
prop. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a turbo prop. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not your finest video, not your finest location that we've ever seen you in.
No, in typical show fashion, I was trying to give Matt a heart attack, and it took me about 45 minutes to get the setup going to at least get to 640 pixels.
Yes,
for today's show. But
yeah. No, the heart attack actually took about 15 seconds to give me, but there was 40.
So what is Armando coming to us in? What, 240 today? 480?
No, it's a little higher than that, but only just
570, 560,
640. I think
640.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know what? We'll give all the listeners and the viewers discount on today's episode because of the low quality video.
Right. Okay.
From America.
From America. Yes. Okay. Fair enough. Absolutely. But yes, you are here. That's you are here in voice, and that is the most important thing.
Well, yeah, Nev told me that he wasn't going to be on the show, so I had to.
Contractual agreement. Yes, absolutely. We mustn't forget that. Yeah.
So how are things with you, Armando? What have you been up to this week? Flying or skydiving?
No, a whole lot of nothing. I spent basically a whole week on vacation, and one of our friends has a beautiful lake house on Lake Norman, so we have spent an entire 5 days just on the boats, on the pontoon boats, and the water ski. Maddie learned how to water ski, which was great.
Oh, wow.
And then here in the U.S., it is 4th of July weekend. So
of course.
I am on location in eastern North Carolina, Fayetteville, one of the largest military bases in the country, with some friends from the Air Force. And we are also on a lake here in eastern North Carolina. So we're going to be hanging out.
Yeah. I can say water skiing with a plane by any chance? Or
Well, there would be no other way to do it.
Well, quite, yeah.
Not for my daughter.
No, of course, absolutely.
I was going to say she's fearless.
I can say, why have sensible water skiing when you can put a plane in the way? I mean, why not?
Well, like that, when all her little friends that live on the lake do it from boats, she's going to be like, boats? Ah, jeez.
Quite. Indeed. Touche, well played. Never have I had a question that I've asked backfire so beautifully. There we go. So that's the team assembled.
That's the team assembled. Team assembled. Yeah. So what we got this week, just for a quick weekly roundup, well, we have got a Nev's media fail, which we've been sent in by Nev, which is a tweet that apparently was put on, I think it was on the Daily, I think it was the Daily Mail, I think tweeted this, and they obviously Nev loves his media fails when the various kind of places put the wrong pictures. You know, they'll be talking about
Sorry, you can stop stalling now. I've done it. Yeah, okay. It's fine.
They'll be talking about an A320 and they'll put an A380 on there or something like that. So
indeed.
This week's Nev's media fail, BA tweet apparently. This was a tweet that was a British Airways flight to Sao Paulo is forced to return to London, and on the picture they featured I think which Nev's put here an Airbus A319, and someone on Twitter, Matt Aviation Up Close, or at Aviation Up Close, has put, how stupid of BA to use an A319 on a flight to Brazil. No wonder they returned. Clearly realised they weren't going to make it. Hashtag BA, hashtag A319.
I mean, to be fair, it is on the Daily Fail. We should just stress that. So that's probably the first issue there.
I mean, it would be interesting to see if a fully fueled, fully laden A319. It'd be see how far it would get before it ran out of fuel.
Right. I mean, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm assuming from the way you're talking, an A319 would not be able to go from London.
It would be, Matt. It would be like me saying to you, me and you, shall we go to Malta in my Cessna 150?
Oh,
we might not get there.
Right. I mean, we could refuel.
No, this is not refueling.
Oh, right, okay. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, Armando looks horrified.
So thank you, thanks Nev for sending that in to us for this week. But we're going to thank everyone who's joined us in the live YouTube chat room this evening. A few new faces in there as well. So we're going to say hello to Richard Adams this week. Hello to you, Richard. John Jest has joined us. Mazus Karim is also in there. Sturman is also in there. Hello to you, Garth.
Sturman.
Hello to James J, a new face in there. James J is coming to us from North Dakota. Hello to you, James. Lovely to see you in there. Welcome to you. Captain Cruz, Dirk S. Hello to you, Dirk. We've got Arnie Carlson. Hello to you, Arnie. Hope you are well as well. Enjoying the start of the weekend. That's what we like to call it. And Armando is wielding the blue spanner.
Is he? Oh, he's in charge today, is he?
He's in charge of that today, yeah. So welcome to you all. Don't forget, if you're listening to us on the audio version of the show, don't forget, if you want to join in on the YouTube platform, if you find us on YouTube, just search for youtube.com/Plane Talking UK. Click on subscribe and hit the bell icon, which is right next to that as well, to join us in the live YouTube feed. And hello as well to Stuart McCutcheon as well. Hello to you, Stuart. Another new name. Hello to you. Hello, Stuart. Whereabouts are you, Stuart, in the world? Let us know. So if you, like I said, if you want to subscribe to us, that'd be great. Don't forget to click that subscribe button. And
now it's the beginning of the month, so that means we have something very important.
Yes,
to do.
It is the beginning of the month.
Shall I start the music?
Start the music. Yes. Here we go. So it is that time of the month where we say a big thank you to all our Patreon and PayPal subscribers who very kindly donate to the show. So thank you to Dirk S, Sasha Beer, Stephen Ivey, Nicholas Codling, Warren Dixon, Louis Flores, Andrew van der Sarg, Alan White, Stephen Howland, Tanya Wyman, Megan Carrion, Jacob Darlington Brown, Nicholas Hewitt, Masha Gertz, Mr. Owen Shimazu, whoever he is.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him.
No.
Ruben Wells, Neil Lanwarn, Graham Haley.
Megan Carrion? No, never heard of her
Jonathan
either.
Warner.
No.
Jonathan Warner, who's that?
No, I don't know.
I don't
I don't know. I'm still not talking to him after that photo incident.
Oh dear. Eric Graves, Matt Caton, Jordan Rose, Andrew Wilson, Captain Jeff, Adam Spink, Liz Piper, Jeff Ward, Myla, Evan Shue, Philip Labe, Shut Backer, Ray Williams and Stephanie Plummer. And our PayPal donators this month have been Tony Stubbings, Richard Adams, big thank you to you. Rick Bell, huge thank you to you, Rick, as well, for your very kind donation this month. Rick is awesome. Scott Masters, Jennifer Parkinson, Mazuz Karim, and Lee Davies as well. Thank you to you, one and all. And don't forget, as a special treat for everyone who donates to the show through PayPal or Patreon, don't forget there's that special videos.
There's
that
two
we
now,
release.
actually.
There's
Two exclusive.
Two exclusive videos which have been put together by Armando, which focus on his flying exploits.
He's panicking. Why is
And,
he just gave us that look as if to say, I've done what now?
Exactly. But there's some awfully fantastic high-res videos which are available to you guys.
In stark
and girls.
contrast to what we're receiving from Armando
know.
currently. But
So don't forget, if you want to become a Patreon donator or PayPal donator to the show, you can find all the details on our website, www.planetalkinguk.com. And love the videos. There's definitely some more to come as well from there. And there's also a video coming up soon from me.
Is there?
Yes, which I've been asked
Is
to do.
there?
So yes, that'll be coming up soon, and it'll be heavily edited by Matt, I will say.
Oh, will it? Oh, okay. All right, I'll fit that in. Yes, fair enough.
So there we go. Thank you to everyone for your kind donations this month. It is very, very helpful indeed. And
Certainly is.
hopefully this year we'll be using some of that to bring you lots of content from the Malta Air Show in September.
Yes,
All fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
And Old Buckingham Air Show as well in a few weeks' time. So that'll be great as well.
Yeah, we live in hope.
Hopefully,
we live in
yes.
hope. Yeah.
So we are going to start the show then, as we do each week, with our rundown of the weekly news from across the world and the UK. So if all the team are ready.
Indeed.
Ready.
So, kicking off this week's first news story, it's always sad to see an aircraft that's in my top 5 of favourites. And this one comes to us from Reuters, Twitter, registry.faa.gov and Flight Radar 24. So this has happened, breaking news, it's very recent. A Boeing 737 cargo aircraft with 2 people on board made an emergency landing in the ocean off the coast of Honolulu, Hawaii, early on Friday. That's today. The US Aviation Safety Regulators said the pilots had reported an engine trouble and were attempting to return to Honolulu when they were forced to land on the water. The US Federal Aviation Administration said in a statement. According to preliminary information, the US Coast Guard rescued both crew members, so that's the best news ever. The Rhodes Express flight 810 was climbing out of Honolulu's runway 08 right when the crew of 2 pilots stopped the climb at around 2,000 feet and reported they had lost an engine, a Pratt & Whitney JT8D. The tower cleared the flight for a visual approach to runway 04 right. The aircraft began to descend while trying to position for a return to Honolulu's runway 04, and the crew reported that we have all the roads 810 and requested to turn right towards the airport and received clearance. The tower subsequently cleared the aircraft to turn onto a heading of 020 for runway 04 right. The crew reported they no longer had the airport in sight. The tower advised they had a low-level alert. Tower cleared the flight to land on any runway. All operations at the airport were stopped, emergency services were called out, and the Coast Guard were also on their way out as well. Tower provided a heading of 310 degrees directly to a closer airport, Kalailo Airport, at the end of the and in the end the tower did not receive a reply from the aircraft anymore. The aircraft did not make it to the airport, unfortunately, and needed to ditch in the ocean around 2 nautical miles short of the runway. Both crew were rescued. One pilot was airlifted to hospital. The other was taken ashore by a rescue boat and taken to a hospital. The aircraft, November 810 Tango Alpha, was built by Boeing in 1975, according to FAA records. The plane was first delivered to Pacific Western Airlines and joined the Transair fleet in 2014. Rhodes Aviation Incorporated does business as Transair, which is one of Hawaii's largest air cargo carriers and has been in business since 1982. It has a fleet of 5 Boeing 737 aircraft that fly daily to all major Hawaiian island destinations, I should say, according to its website. And the FAA have obviously started their investigation. So it's quite an old aircraft, as we see here. Obviously, one of the first kind of older generation of 737s. This one was obviously the 200 powered by the Pratt & Whitney JT8Ds. Or
I have a question.
Far away.
Okay, well, the engines look different.
Oh yes, these Pratt & Whitney JT8Ds, they were. Some people used to call these pencil engines because when you compared these to the engines,
because I'm used to the newer
big,
sort of where they're much larger, but these look. I don't know what they look like.
These are old.
They look like cartridges that have been shoved on the underneath of the wing.
They are. They were a very heavily and reliable air engine. These were on the aircraft. These were fitted on the Dash 200 series. They built no end of these. And at the end of their life, when the regulations came in to make aircraft quieter, rather than get rid of these aircraft and take the engines off and everything else, they fitted these with what they call hush kits.
Right.
So they put on the back those see those bits that protrude from the back of the engine. They put
silver bits.
Yes, there's little bits in the back there. They fitted these engines with hush kits to make them quieter.
Right. Okay.
Which did work actually.
So I mean, Armando, I'm going to ask you a very technical question here. So sorry about this. How did that? Presumably they're just not as powerful. Is that why they moved away from that design to the more the more familiar design that you'd see on this sort of aircraft?
Oh, sure. As you've seen in many other airplanes. So the JT8D, from what I understand, I think it was used on the 727, on the 737-200. It was on the MD-80, the original DC-9s, as well as the Navy's A6, the Intruder aircraft. So that was it was an older engine developed, I think, in 1960. So just as many other aircraft found new, got re-engined. The 707 was the same way. It had a low bypass turbofan, I think, also, and eventually they were just expensive to run, but we didn't care about the environment or cost back in the 60s and the 70s. Right. It was the golden age of aviation.
Yeah, so. Those were the days. Hey,
just put more gas on it and burn it all.
True. Our producer has just said in our ear, actually, great job by the crew, not only ditching with all surviving, but they also ditched at night in the dark. I think that that's a testament to the skills involved right there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Thanks, John. It's amazing. Any ditching is going to be an emotional event, as I always say.
Absolutely.
But yeah, doing it at night in the dark is just an amazing feat by the crew, and I hope they get recognized. First of all, we're glad that they're okay and they got rescued.
Absolutely.
It'll be really interesting to hear them recount what happened.
Tony S is asking in the chat room, there can't be many Dash 200s still flying around. Well, according to Aerotime Hub, with only around 77 Boeing 737-200 remaining in service worldwide, air carriers no liner aviation fleet is now the world's largest user of these particular aircraft.
Wow. Okay.
But it's been I flew on one of these many years ago.
Have you?
As a young child, yes.
Right. Okay.
Because Air Malta used to have these.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, many years ago.
You and Air Malta, honestly, it's like an obsession.
It's good.
It was. I mean, the 737-200 was really one of the first. When the 737 came out, it really revolutionized commercial aviation. But lots of carriers. I remember the Piedmont, the original Piedmont. They had 737-200s. Alaska had 200s. So many carriers had these aircraft.
And let's not forget as well, before we move on, the Aloha Airlines Flight 243 was a 737-200.
Yeah.
Half of the roof ripped off in flight, and it carried on flying and landed. And they only lost one person.
Yeah.
Which is one person too many, obviously.
Which is one person too many, but it just shows how blooming strong these the old Dash 200s were.
I think the last thing we'll say about this one is I can only imagine that a cargo pilot in Hawaii is always prepared to ditch, because there's not the Hawaiian terrain is very rugged. So it was good that they made that initial turn towards Kalaeola. But you can see how the tower was ready to respond, the Coast Guard. I mean, everybody was just ready to respond to an aircraft ditching. So it's almost a go-to emergency procedure in Hawaii, I'm sure, is to, what are we going to do? We're probably going to put it in the water because it's not a lot of hospitable terrain.
No, indeed.
So, Matt, you've got some good news from our low-cost carrier here in the UK, haven't you?
Indeed. Well, in Ireland anyway, certainly. So story number 2, as always, well, hopefully as always, haven't had quite the access to stories that we normally try and find one here. This is from theguardian.com, and the headline is Ryanair passenger numbers soar as COVID vaccine restores travel confidence. Ryanair's passenger numbers surged in June with the easing of travel restrictions and successful rollout of the COVID-19 vaccination programme, prompting a flood of holidaymakers to seek out summer sunshine in Italy, Spain and Portugal. The no-frills airline, which in June reported the biggest annual loss in its 35-year history, let's be honest, that's hardly a surprise, carried 5.3 million passengers on 38,000 flights last month. In June 2020, Ryanair carried only 400,000 passengers. So there has been a steady increase in passengers for Europe's busiest and biggest airline in recent months. In April, there was 1 million travellers and 1.8 million in May, as the easing of travel restrictions across parts of the continent fuels a gradual recovery in the hard-hit aviation industry. And it's not really relevant, but sort of further information. Last month, Ryanair and Manchester Airports Group, the UK's largest airport group, which also operates Stansted and East Midlands airports launched a legal challenge calling for transparency in the government's handling of its contentious traffic light signal system for grading countries safe to visit. And of course, one of the things I think it's worth mentioning is because at the moment there is some ambiguity about the double vaccination thing and the app. They've sorted it now. Oh, they have sorted it because I know Malta weren't accepting it at one point, were they?
They are now.
They are now.
Yeah, they changed their mind. Yeah.
So if you're not in the UK, you may not be aware, but we have a very an app that was released by the government that deals with things like track and trace, and we have like QR codes and stuff on doors that we scan with our cameras to like tag in and tag out of pubs, bars, restaurants, even Fen Farm's little shed. At the end of my road here, and one of the things that they've added that is like a kind of a vaccine passport. So if you've had both of your jabs, you can add that information to your app, and that's supposed to be like a QR code that proves essentially that you've had both jabs.
Sunday.
But there has been some concerns raised, shall we say, by some of the other countries that this wasn't going to be accepted, but as Carlos is saying, I think some of it's being sorted.
Yeah, a lot of it was the backlash that the Maltese government got on Twitter and social media from people who had booked to go to Malta with 2 jabs, but were arriving.
Some were turned away, weren't they?
And some were turned away, which obviously cost people a lot of money and the airlines a lot of money. And there was such a massive push on, I think it must have been down to social media, because I think it was yesterday they reversed their decision and decided to accept the app. And they said at the bottom of their statement that apparently one of their software developers had developed quickly this piece of software to enable them to scan our QR codes.
Oh, I see. And so like a translation.
Yes, and tag it to the information. Right. So, yeah. Okay.
I mean, again, so Dirk S is saying, do they sell COVID-19 vaccine shots board Ryanair already. Probably. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, crew. Some crew, they do get very decent first aid training, but I'm not sure they're trained how to give a jab on board. But
whole new meaning to scratch cards.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want any turbulence at that particular moment in time, would you? But there we go. It's. I mean, is there signs of anything like this happening in the States, Armando? Do you think there's any chance that there's going to be like a COVID, a jab passport for?
Oh no.
No? Oh,
Absolutely not.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, we'll move on then. Next story.
Armando, you have got some. Well, this is rather big news about for Boeing and Airbus, I think.
Yeah, well, I guess Airbus and everybody. This is probably the biggest sign of a recovery from the pandemic. United Airlines has placed the biggest aircraft order in its history, one of the biggest ever in the U.S. airline market. This is signaling a very strong demand for return to travel. So this order is for all narrow-body aircraft. It includes airplanes for both growth of the company and replacement of older aircraft. So the airline has been actively marketing the benefits of this order since its announcement. The CEO, Scott Kirby, was touting the main idea behind this order is improved customer service. So this move is, as we said, one of the most aggressive that United has made, and it follows an order just a few weeks ago for 15 supersonic jets from Boom, which we talked about on the show. So there are a lot of upsides to this new order from United Airlines, including a relatively quick refresh of a fleet that has actually gotten quite old. So the two new plane models, which is going to be the 737 MAX and the A321neo, are both highly efficient. As we know, they're fuel-saving airplanes, as we were just talking about with airplanes, better for the environment than anything else in United's current fleet. But this order does have some risks associated with it. It has implications for the domestic U.S. capacity, effects on competition, airline labor markets, and the regional airline industry. So according to United's press release, many of these airplanes are going to replace 50-seat regional jets. This has some really interesting implications. These replacements will mean that a step function increase in size per departure compared to the RJs. That means that the schedule may need to change in terms of frequency, or otherwise a lot more people are going to be needed for each flight. So the RJs are flown by regional airlines on a cost plus basis for United, making these flights much more lower per trip costs than a United flown flight. This is partly because regional airlines use labor that's not covered by United's unions, and these work generally at lower wage rates, as we know, because we're all trying to get into aviation. So when a 737 replaces an RJ, it means that United pilots are now flying the airplane, and the regional carrier must redeploy their plane or find something else to do with it. The larger plane is going to burn more absolute fuel, but less fuel per seat. So one of the most interesting things about this whole announcement is that they've positioned this new order, and rather than saying it's going to be more green, which it will, burn less fuel, which it will, be more reliable, which it will, and even be more profitable, we'll see about that. The CEO has highlighted that this fleet upgrade is going to make for a better customer experience, and even focusing on the individual screens at each seat being great for families, which is kind of a big bet that they're going to make, because most customers are bringing their own screens on board anyway, as we've talked about, rather than using the seat back screens. Anyways, so there's an extensive article at Forbes.com about this order. So if you want to read that, go to the show notes. We'll put the link in there. But hey, United is trying to compete with everybody out there. We'll see how the low-cost carriers will take this. But they're trying to get into their markets with this order also. So
forgive my naivety here. Is some of this, though, the fact that essentially the fleet that they have now is so damn old that they're actually having to upgrade it because they've got no choice?
They're not ridiculously
old. They're not terribly old, as Carlos is saying. That it's they're still working. They're they're going to burn more gas doing this. It's just the most unique thing about this order is that they're replacing regional jets. They're replacing another airline because here in the U.S., United mainline kind of goes hub to hub, maybe some outstations, but all the feeders are regional. This could be Mesa, it could be Air Wisconsin, it could be a smaller airline, and United is this order is really going to put a dent into those airlines' operations, and they're full Part 121 airlines, but we'll see what the labor unions really have to say about this. Is the big thing that I'm taking away.
Be interesting to see exactly how many of these aircraft will actually get delivered.
Also, worth saying, John Jester is saying in there that actually if they're replacing the 50 seats, the 50-seat jets, then that makes sense. They are seriously old airframes now. Their Airbus airframes are ancient.
Yeah, the CRJ 200. I don't think anybody ever liked. John Jester used to fly for Air Wisconsin, and Stephen Ivey used to fly the CRJ 200. I don't think it's anybody's favorite. My brother used to fly the CRJ 200 for Comair, and I think it's generally hated equally worldwide.
Plus the fact, don't forget, these smaller aircraft are used so heavily used every day.
True.
The interiors get very worn, and they are. Yeah.
Well, Captain Cruz is saying, as I say, John popped it up on screen a minute ago, actually saying their A319, A320 fleet is 20 to 25 years old. Their 737-800 are a mix, but many are inherited from Continental and are also nearing 20 years of age. But then I suppose 20 years of age, is that young, really that old an airframe these days, really?
No, it's not terrible, but like we were talking about with the engines, you're talking about the Max, the 737 Max and the A321neo. The cost savings is pretty significant.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
And don't forget as well, Mr. O'Leary says the Macs are game changers. Anyway,
next story.
Game changers.
What are?
Mr. O'Leary says apparently the Macs. Game changing.
Really?
Aircraft, yes. Game changing.
Okay.
Anyway.
Good news.
I know. The Flight Global, this
You're
one
right,
comes
Carlos.
to us. Yes, I am.
Do you need a hug or something?
No. What, in this studio? God blimey. Cold shower, I think. Right. This one comes from Flight Global, and it's all about those amazing things that pilots absolutely love, confusing NOTAMs. And confusing NOTAMs led to overrun 747 crew to believe longer runway was unavailable. So this is an update to an investigation into a 747-400F freighter, which overran in 2018. So investigators probing the overrun that destroyed a Boeing 747-400F on the 7th of November 2018 at Halifax have highlighted the contribution of poorly presented NOTAM information to the accident. The safety hazard posed by complex and cluttered NOTAMs is an issue being tackled by an ICAO campaign initiated earlier this year. Transportation Safety Board of Canada says the Sky Lease Cargo's freighters crew received 98 NOTAMs prior to departing Chicago O'Hare's for Halifax. 37 of these NOTAMs were concerning Halifax. 22 were about runway 0523, referring to unserviceable navigation aids, runway lighting and displaced threshold due to work in progress. 10 of the 22 runway NOTAMs contained repeated information with modifications but had to be compared with previous versions in order to identify any differences. All of the NOTAMs were presented in the sequence they were issued without being prioritised, and all in a format containing entirely capitalised text. It is difficult to reliably extract the crucial information because of their presentation style, using all capital letters, and because their sequence in which important approach and runway NOTAMs are not prioritised but buried among other information, the safety inquiry said. Those reading the NOTAMs must search backwards and forth to compare and extract the information in order to build a list of unavailable approaches or runways. This extraction process elimination is usually performed mentally, increasing the risk of misinterpretation. My word. That's a long word. Resulting in the crew, stop smiling, Matt, having an inaccurate mental model. Stop it. I can see you grinning. He's sitting next to me grinning here.
I deny everything.
Reducing the crew's situational awareness adds to the inquiry. Having read through the NOTAMs, the Skylease 747 crew concluded that no approaches or lighting were available for runway 0523, when in fact two approaches involving NDB aids or lateral navigation were an option. The crew instead chose to conduct an RLS approach to Halifax's runway 14, which was shorter than runway 23, even taking into account the displace threshold on 23. Investigators determined that the 747 was subjected to a tailwind during the approach, that's not always a good thing, to runway 14, and that decisions including the use of a 25-degree flap setting rather than a 30-degree flap setting further increased the landing distance. Complications during the touchdown included a deviation from the centre line, a lack of crew focus on the deceleration, meant maximum braking was not applied until the aircraft was just 800 feet from the end of the runway. It overran and dropped over a steep slope, sustaining extensive damage, and 3 of the 4 occupants received minor injuries. Important to note as well, this is not the only reason for the overrun, and a full overview of the incident is available at the link which we're going to put in the show notes, which is from Flight Global.
I mean, we've mentioned NOTAM several times before, haven't we? And I think Armando, you and I have had conversations where.
Do you love NOTAMs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're needed. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I mean, this is crucial information, but surely to goodness there must be a better way of presenting it. I mean, surely.
I'm going to ask a quick question to Matt.
Well,
what does NOTAM mean?
I don't know what NOTAMs actually means, but it's something to do with it's to do with areas, no-fly areas, or areas where there's stuff going on. Is that correct? That you'll need to avoid. So
part of it.
Yeah. So information. So like if it's an air show, for example, then there's a cordon around it, and you're told that you're not. It's like a no-fly zone almost for certain things.
That would be a very pertinent piece of information that a pilot would need. That's a lot of alliteration there, but. The predominant, like they're talking about, all the NOTAMs, you're going to talk. They're unfortunately talking about unlit towers and cranes, and sure, they may 6 miles from the end of the runway, 2 miles to the right, there may be a tower that was put up that is not lit, and that's just filling. You know, we talked about this with Bob Vickery from the AAIB. We talked about it with the guys from Sky Demon. Yeah, it's just there has to be some new way to present NOTAM information, and I get it. Like I especially when you are either rerouted to a new airport that you haven't really planned for, or you're flying to your alternate, you may have skimmed through the NOTAMs, all 37 of them for that airport, but even then there's some air traffic control NOTAMs, then there's the airport NOTAMs, and there's communication NOTAMs, and they're divided by section, so they're not all presented in one cohesive way for your airport. It depends on how your flight releases come across, but it's just such a terrible way to present information that could potentially be crucial, but it just gets buried into just trivial information about unlit towers, and there's improper markings on taxiway whiskey you know, and it's just but that's a piece of information that's important to someone, right? But I don't know, there just has to be. We've talked about it with almost every guest that has a potential to affect change in the NOTAM industry. We've talked about it with them, and I think it's just a thorn in the butt for every single pilot out there. You try, and the thing is, like when you're flying, you know that if you mess something up and there was a NOTAM about it, it's your ticket on the line. But
thank you to Captain Cruz, who's very kindly pointed out or shared with me, because this lot were all busy mocking me for my terrible description here, but nobody actually said what it meant, and it is literally notice to airmen, literally. Or air persons, I should say.
Oh yeah, I suppose we didn't answer the question. Yes.
No, but that's fine. You
carry on.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, is it worth mentioning that do we think now that there's a crash attributed to poorly laid out, no terms. Do you think that actually finally somebody might do something about it?
There's been so many.
Really?
So many mishaps and incidents where failure to read NOTAMs or incorrect procedures have contributed. Very rarely do they cause a crash, but it's usually a contributing factor to a mishap.
True.
And like John was saying in our background info, it wasn't the sole cause for this mishap, but it is a contributing factor, and I think it has been for years and years and years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Leave it there. Let's some fingers crossed for some serious change.
So, Matt, moving on to the next story.
Indeed.
And, this is an interesting one.
Yes. So Flight Global is our source for this story, and the headline is Alpa calls on the FAA to require secondary cockpit barriers. So the largest US pilots union is urging the US government to take additional steps to prevent passengers from gaining access to cockpits, saying a recent spike in air rage incidents signals need for better security. So the Airline Pilots Association International, Alpa, is calling on regulators to require that cockpits of passenger aircraft be equipped with secondary barriers, devices intended to block access when an aircraft's cockpit door is open. Such barriers include locked gates ahead of the cockpit door. Alpa has long urged regulators to require the secondary barriers, having taken up the advocacy effort following the September 2001 US terrorist attacks. The union's president, Joe DePete, is now renewing calls for secondary barriers, citing increasing numbers of in-flight passenger disturbances. I urge the FAA to please stop stalling, DePete says on the 28th of June during a virtual event hosted by the Aero Club of Washington. Regulators should require secondary devices to be installed on all new aircraft and added to existing in-service aircraft, he said. News outlets have reported a number of recent incidences involving unruly passengers, including an early June incident in which a passenger allegedly attempted to break into the cockpit of a Delta Airlines jet. The FAA has seen a recent significant increase in reports of unruly passengers, having received 2,500 such reports year to date through to 24th of May. Many of the incidents were related to the US government's requirement that passengers wear face coverings, the agency said. The FAA has responded by declaring a zero-tolerance policy for unruly and dangerous behaviour by passengers and by dishing out hefty fines. The agency did not respond immediately to questions about requiring secondary cockpit barriers. Additionally, DePete reiterated Alpa's recommendation that regulators require cargo aircraft to have intrusion-resistant cockpit doors, noting cargo aircraft often carry some passengers. I mean,
I've got one simple fix.
We're just
for
going
this.
back to the same argument, aren't we? It's like, stop giving. Well, if you can't handle your alcohol, don't give it to people in flight or in the airport. Sorry, that's probably the problem, isn't it?
Electrify the door.
Electrify the door.
240-volt mesh over the flight deck door.
Right. Okay.
Anyone goes to touch
but this
it.
whole thing of the second barrier, Armando, you may be able to chip in here. The whole thing of the second barrier. So you put a second barrier in. So you've already got the cockpit door, and somehow I don't know how, but they've managed to breach that door. I mean, realistically, how many layers do you put in here to make it safe? I mean, surely the cockpit door would be enough to make it safe. I mean, what am I missing here?
No, it's an interesting point. I don't think there has been, not that I know of, a recent successful breaching of the cockpit door. Actually, I've secondary cockpit barriers. I've seen some designs that are essentially why it's kind of similar to what Carlos is talking about.
Oh, really?
It looks like an electric. It looks like an electric fence,
right?
For a horse, or
right?
something like that.
Okay.
But it's a combination of barriers or wire mesh or something like that. Most designs that I saw were blocking the first class lav. So I don't think that would make anybody happy.
No.
Or, I don't know. It's just one of these things. If it's coming from Alpa, it must have been, I assume it has been vetted by its members, which are professional airline pilots. So if someone is bringing it up from the union to the FAA, then surely there may be a need for it that maybe I'm not seeing. I'd love to hear what the chat room has. We have some professional pilots in there. The airplanes that I fly have a curtain made out of paper mache and hot dog filler. So I think anybody could probably break through it with just breathing on it.
Right. Okay. I mean, Richard Adams is offering the obvious solution. Cattle prods would be cheaper than extra doors. I mean, there's definitely some said to that.
The problem with that is you have two juvenile pilots up front that would take that cattle prod and just keep each other awake.
True. There is that.
Try to mess with each other.
Yeah. Richard Adams was saying. John popped off just a moment ago. They'll need to shrink 1A. Haven't they? Are you sure they haven't? They've checked in with Nev because he won't be thrilled about that, obviously. But if Nev had to navigate to the lab, like what was the show, the movie with George Clooney, Catherine Zeta-Jones? She has to go through the laser maze. It's not Batman, is it?
No. Not Resident Evil, is it?
No. Anyway, chat room, think about it. But if you remember Catherine Zeta-Jones navigating the laser maze, that'll be Nev trying to get to the first class lavatory.
Right. Okay. I mean, I don't know. As I say, perhaps I'm missing something, which is why I'm asking the question. But I surely the sensible thing is to have better bits of better bits and pieces on the door itself, because you're taking space away from other things. I
think they're generally pretty secure, but like I said, who am I to negate what Alpa has?
So you can always rely on cabin crew here, right? So Owen's just said in the chat room, how are the pilots going to feel going through all the hassle of another door to get to the toilet? I mean, it's a very important question. I mean, these are very important people at the end.
Especially
of the day.
if they've had the fish.
Right. Okay. What you
just have to bring back you have to bring back the relief tubes of World War II.
Oh, there's an image.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Shiwi.
Lovely shiwis and catheters. There we are. Shall we leave it there? I think
we'll move on before we get even lower. Armando,
oh my.
we haven't had a UAV story on the show for a while, so Armando, you've got this next one.
Now, this is a bit of a techie story, so if you're not into that, go recharge your glass as you're listening to us. It'll take us about 5.5 minutes to get through this. So this is from techexplore.com, which a team of researchers is working at Johannes Kepler University, has developed an autonomous drone with a new type of technology that improves search and rescue efforts. In their paper published in the journal Science Robotics, which is where we get all our news, the group describes their drone modifications. Andreas Berg with Jacobs University Bremen has published a focus piece on the same journal outlining the work done by this team in Austria. So finding people that are lost or hiding in the forest is difficult because of the tree cover. People in planes and helicopters have difficulty seeing through the canopy to the ground below, where people may be walking, they may be laying down. Or in the case of kids, when kids get lost, they just hug a tree. So they just kind of hunker down. So the same problem exists for thermal applications, which are heat sensors. They can't pick up these readings adequately through the forest's canopy. So efforts have been made to add drones to search and rescue operations, but they suffer from the same problems because they are remotely controlled by pilots using them to search the ground below. In this new effort, researchers have added a new technology that both helps see through the canopy and to highlight the people that may be under it. So this technology is based on what researchers describe as an airborne optical sectioning algorithm. How many times do we say algorithm on this show? Not very many. It uses the power of a
good
computer.
word. It's a lovely word, isn't it?
It is. I have a funny story about that I'll tell you guys after the show.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So if you're in the chat room, hang out for a second.
This means a non-heritable cat.
Wow. Okay.
What was that?
I think Armando's Alexa has gone nuts.
I think Alexa's just gone crazy.
Absolutely. Hello. You're.
Don't quit. Stop saying the word.
Oh, what, the word Alexa?
Yes.
Okay, right. Oh dear, he is literally. Yeah. Yeah, he'll be back
1
in a minute.
minute. He'll be back in 1 minute.
He's going. Okay, all right. Find the story. Where was he? And
Alexa
carry
is
on.
shut down now. She's shut down the whole of the US.
There we go.
Where did Armando get to?
Third paragraph, second line, I'm being told in my ear. So the second part of the new device uses the thermal imaging and switching cameras. Sorry, yeah, not that we've lost our way. Second
You're
part,
right.
sorry.
Okay.
Thermal images to highlight the heat emitted from a warm body. A machine learning application then determines if the heat signals are those of humans, animals, or other sources. The new hardware was then affixed to a standard autonomous drone. The computer in the drone uses both locational positioning to determine where to search and cues from the AOS or AOS and thermal sensors. If a possible AOS, sorry, I'm being told in my ear, and thermal sensors. If a possible match is made, the drone automatically moves closer to a target to get a better look. If the sensors indicate a match, it signals the research team, giving them the coordinates. In testing their newly outfitted drones over 17 field experiments, the researchers found it was able to locate 38 out of 42 people hidden below tree canopies.
That's pretty cool.
That's a really cool piece of technology, isn't it? And a cool looking drone as well. I want to own one, I've decided. Yeah.
Thank you, Matthew, for saving the day.
My pleasure. What I have to ask, what happened?
So I don't know. I as I read this drone story, my friend John, whose house I'm in, apparently started reading an audiobook about like technology. So there you go. So everything is interlinked. The Matrix.
Lovely. Right. Yes.
What is it? The Matrix. There was a glitch in the Matrix. I read the story. The Matrix tried to reach out for us. We'll fix it in post, I'm sure, right?
No, I think it's staying. To be fair, I think it's staying in. It's wow, very cool, very very spooky. I mean, I feel a bit sorry for Alexa if they're listening to, us.
Stop saying it.
What?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's A word.
Hang
is
on,
going
hang on.
off.
Alexa, put pizza on the shopping list. No, okay.
10,000 people just.
Yeah, right. I love it. That's how we got our ratings up.
No, this is a great idea. I love this, especially if it's going to save lives.
Yeah, this is important. So the reason this story is in here this week is because I've done a lot of search and rescue flying. John Jester and we met in the Civil Air Patrol. That's the largest aerial search and rescue organization here in the U.S. Similar to the Air Cadets, but the Air Cadets over there don't do an operational mission. They do training of the next generation of aviator and the youth. So here in the U.S., the Civil Air Patrol is charged with about 80% of the inland search and rescue. That's actually an Air Force mission that they've delegated out to civilian volunteers. And this has always been a challenge for us to search wooded areas, whether it's for a missing person, a missing child, or a vehicle or something like that. And increasingly, we in the Civil Air Patrol have deployed more unmanned, more UASs, our remotely piloted aircraft, whatever you want to call them, SUASs, and with search and rescue capabilities. So this having an additional capacity on top of thermal imaging, which is kind of your traditional police camera. If you've ever seen like black and white footage of a police camera, that technology has been miniaturized onto a UAS level. And this uses an algorithm that is essentially determining what is a human signature from thermal data, which is just a pretty significant step forward in finding people that are lost in the woods.
It's the most incredible story, as you say, and it's technology doing its very best. But I'm afraid, Armando, you get one of these.
Nerd alert!
Well, that's because we said algorithm 4 times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Don't say it again. Look what happened in your house last time.
Yes.
Oh, no. I'll put myself on timeout for the next few stories.
Absolutely. We just in the studio here. We've just received a picture from from Andy, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say. I don't think I'm allowed to show the picture, which I'm not going to. But basically, he's sitting in the left seat of an aircraft with the caption underneath saying, "Lads, I need some help. I've forgotten how to do this."
Oh, it's okay. This is the plot of Airplane. So we'll just talk you down.
Okay.
We'll all go to the
Right.
tower. Rapunzel,
Yeah.
Rapunzel, the tower.
Right.
He's listening to the podcast live, so we'll just talk you down.
Right. Okay. I mean, what happens when he loses like mobile phone signal? I mean, what? You know,
Well,
when he's in the cruise. I mean, what happens?
That'd be like that, wouldn't it?
Right, okay. And then also what happens, I mean, who do we sue, for example? If it does go terribly wrong, who do we actually sue? If YouTube drops out like it has done like the last few weeks, I mean, you know, are they the ones responsible? I don't know.
Complaints at apg.com.
It would be one of those situations, wouldn't it, where it would be, you must press the button.
Right.
Button.
Good.
Which button? The button.
Splendid.
Yeah.
Lovely. That's good. Anyway, before we get sued by someone, shall we do
Sounds
something?
like a phone network we love in the UK here. Anyway, this next
Skoda
story.
phone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
This next story, because
Or
obviously
no two. Is it no two? Might be
no
no
two. Yeah, definitely no two.
Or one to no one, as it
One
used
to
to be.
no one, yeah.
Okay, yeah, good. All right.
So next month I'll be celebrating my 21st birthday again. And this next story...
21 plus VAT, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Just
this next story comes from Reuters.com. And, well, I would love to go into space at my age, 21. But this trailblazing female pilot will go into space at the age of 82.
You realise if you keep saying it, it doesn't
Jeff
become
Bezos.
true, right? I'm just checking.
I
Yeah.
know. Oh, what I'd give to be young again. Amazon's billionaire founder, Jeff Bezos, will be joined by Wally Funk, one of the 13 women who was passed by NASA's astronaut training program in the 1960s, on the first crewed flight into space from his rocket company Blue Origin later this month. Funk, who's 82, will be the oldest person ever to travel into space, Blue Origin said in an announcement on Thursday. She said, I didn't think I'd ever get to go up, she said in a video posted on the company's website. Funk, then a 21-year-old pilot, was the youngest of 13 women who passed the same rigorous testing as the Mercury 7 male astronauts in NASA's program that first sent Americans into space between 1961 and 1963, but were denied a chance to become astronauts themselves because of their gender. She was the first female flight instructor at a US military base and the first woman to become an air safety investigator for the NTSB, or the National Transportation Safety Board. She is due to join Bezos' brother, Mark, and the winner of an auction aboard the New Shepard rocket as it ascends more than 62 miles, or 100 kilometers, above the Earth into suborbital space. The passengers will experience a few minutes of weightlessness and be able to marvel at the planet's curvature through viewing windows before the pressurized passenger capsule returns to Earth under parachutes. Meanwhile, billionaire Richard Branson, spaceship company Virgin Galactic, said on Friday last that it received approval from the US aviation safety regulator to fly people into space, turning up the pressure on rivals in the nascent and expensive space tourism sector. The company confirmed that Richard Branson will travel into space on July the 11th, and I know that he's been putting that very, very rigorously on social media today on his Instagram.
Oh, is he? Right.
Yeah, which will see him beat Bezos into space by 9 days.
Oh.
And actually, if any of you guys and girls follow Richard Branson on Instagram, he actually posted a video this afternoon profiling the crew that he is intending on having with him on that flight, which is quite an interesting little video. So yeah, this is awesome. 82 and going into to suborbital space, absolutely fantastic, and good honour, I say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I mean, as you say, it's a lifetime opportunity and stuff, and I'm so pleased that somebody sort of perhaps later on in their life, who's clearly very fit, by the way, still,
82,
probably put all of us to shame, frankly, in terms of, you know, their athleticism and things like that. I mean, you know, it's a great story, and what a story to tell the grandkids.
Definitely.
What a story.
Where's Nanny been today? Oh, been to space.
She just went to space. Casually
space.
throw that in there. Anyway,
good. Well, we wish them all the best for their journeys.
We'll move
so,
on.
Matt, well, this is an expensive story.
Well, yes, quite. And it's also got my favourite word in it, but we'll gloss over that and move on. www.ainonline.com is the website, and the headlines is Bombardier snags 10 aircraft in a $452 million deal. So
That's quite a lot of money.
that is quite a lot of money, isn't it? Yeah, Bombardier received its largest business jet order for the year thus far, with a 10 aircraft deal valued at $451.8 million, according to current list prices. Yeah, but nobody ever pays the list price, do they? Anyway, the Montreal manufacturer announced yesterday Bombardier did not disclose the customer, nor did it discuss the order mix, citing competitive reasons. But based on the amount cited, such a contract would support the purchase of 3 Challenger 350s, 5 Global 5500s, or 5, I don't know how, 5500s, I don't know, and a pair of Global 7500s, for instance. CEO Eric Martel told analysts in May he was encouraged by improving order activity that had started growing in January, but picked up notably in February and March and carried into the second quarter. Bombardier had achieved a book-to-bill ratio exceeding 1-to-1 in the first quarter, if plans for deliveries this year to remain roughly flat from 2020 totals, which is
Do you know,
a good
considering
point, really.
The current climate that we are all in, including the aviation industry, there's a lot of money being thrown around, a lot of orders being thrown around.
Yeah, I suppose they've got to, though, haven't they? I mean, this is the trouble. You're sort of whether. We're not going to be in this forever, and God forbid, hopefully not. But even if it takes another 2 years before we're out the other side of this, you've still got to be placing orders, because you can't. It's a bit like a car. You can't order a car and drive it away that day, can you? No. I mean, even if it, I know this is second hand, perhaps. Right, okay, but that's the thing, isn't it? So you, regardless of what's been going on right now, you've still got to look to the future, haven't you?
Do you know what my only concern is, though, Matt?
Yeah, go on.
Is that you know when aircraft retire, they go to these boneyards and stuff, and they get sort of put out to pasture as such.
Yeah.
That with all these new orders, all these old aircraft will have to go somewhere.
Right.
And the boneyards, I mean, Armando, I think, will agree, the boneyards are fairly full right now.
Oh, sure, but it's America. We've got a lot of desert.
Good point. Good point. Yep. Now they can all go there. Yeah.
And it's still one of those places that I would tell you I would sell a lot of things to go and just to be able to visit one of those boneyards in the US.
Right, fair enough.
So cool. Anyway, moving on. Next story. Armando, you've got this next one over your neck of the woods.
Yeah, this one, for all of us that are in aviation or aviation enthusiasts, you're going to roll your eyes a couple times probably. But there's a reason we put this in here. So from Fox46.com, which is a local news outlet here in Charlotte, North Carolina, an American Airlines plane traveling from Charlotte to Seattle this weekend experienced an emergency landing at Charlotte Douglas Airport, rattling some passengers aboard. Fox 46 spoke with one passenger who was on American 2775 on Sunday morning as the pilot reported an engine failure. She says, we're just about to get the wheels off the runway. We hear this huge pop, and it sounded like either a tire blew or we hit a giant pothole. To be fair, there are no giant potholes at Charlotte International. From row 28, this young lady broadcast a Facebook Live video as the aircraft was airborne.
Oh, no.
She told Fox 46 that she was planning for the worst. Casey, she says in her live video, she said, Casey and I are on our flight and we have to do an emergency landing. If you could all please play for us with an engine malfunction on takeoff. We're on American Airlines headed from Charlotte to Seattle. That's a direct quote from her Facebook Live. So in a statement from the airline, American said that the aircraft was never in any danger and that the flight returned to Charlotte without incident and taxied to the gate. For the passengers, including this young lady who did the post, they said something between 15 and 30 seconds, something like that. We heard complete silence. Then the flight attendants, we saw them getting busy by going up and down the aisle pretty quickly. After landing in Charlotte, the couple boarded a new flight to Seattle with an appreciation for how emergencies in the air are handled. Last Friday, a separate American Airlines flight had to circle back after it experienced an issue immediately after takeoff. American Airlines, according to the story, American Airlines jets, I'll correct that by saying all jets are designed to fly with one engine, according to these experts. In these specific situations, what pilots and rescue crews on the ground are concerned with is about the aircraft being able to stop on the runway, which is a fair comment. Planes traveling to the West Coast are typically filled with tens of thousands of pounds of jet fuel. Overweight landings can put extra stress on the tires, landing gear, etc. The full statement from American Airlines was yesterday. American 2775 with service from Charlotte to Seattle returned to Charlotte shortly after takeoff due to a possible mechanical issue. The aircraft landed safely at 9:57 a.m. local time without incident and taxied to the gates. So there you go. What I want to stress is that we are able in those situations to help other passengers that may be completely fearing for their lives. If you ever find yourself, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably know something about aviation, and perhaps you can be the person to help calm the fears of those people that think they're potentially going to experience their last couple minutes, and tell them it'll be okay, folks. The crew is trained to do this. The aircraft emergency services are all trained to do this. It will all be okay. And we'll see what happened with this particular, but it's actually a pretty common occurrence that you precautionary shut down an engine, and it'll be perfectly fine. You may have to orbit a little bit around, I don't know that they want to dump fuel over Charlotte, especially if they were going out to the West Coast. So the airplane's going to fly just fine and on one engine, and they're probably just burning off some gas. I saw another report that said they were orbiting for an hour. They weren't. It was like 15 minutes. Probably felt like an hour, but it was like 15 minutes as they did a right turn to the downwind, right back to land at Charlotte.
Question for you, Matt, sitting beside me here.
Uh-oh.
All the years that you've been on this show.
Yes.
And you've been on this show for a number of years now.
Yeah, don't remind me. Yes. Okay.
And you've learned stuff. And you have learned
please.
stuff. I will just say this, he has learned things on this since he's been on the show.
Where are we going with this?
No, and obviously we all know that you're not a massive fan of getting on the aircraft.
No,
as such.
it is amusing.
Do you think
I'm involved in an aviation podcast? And
I know.
have almost no interest in aviation.
Do you think that
the irony isn't lost? Yes.
with what you've learned since you've been on the show, and
Yeah.
obviously with what you've learned from our awesome Armando here sitting here,
Yeah.
do you think that if you had an incident where, say, an engine had to be shut down in flight and you were on that aircraft, would you be less worried than what you would have been prior to being on this show?
So, short answer to that. So, Armando, forgive my naivety here, but presumably if an engine was shut down for some reason, I mean, that's not something that you would necessarily announce over comms, surely?
No, the crew's pretty busy. The crew's pretty busy up front. They're going to try to troubleshoot. The flight crew, the cabin crew, would certainly notice it. Because they know exactly what sounds normal, what doesn't sound normal, what feels normal. So if you happen to be sitting in 11F, which is the exit row, and you're facing one of the cabin crew, perhaps you'll see a little bit of an eyebrow raise from them.
Right.
You would feel it. You would certainly feel it.
Yeah. I mean, as a layman, I probably wouldn't notice.
Would the average person be able to feel the difference between an engine shutdown and a strong wind gust? Probably not.
No.
But in an effort to be transparent, the crew would announce, "Hey, we've had an issue," and this is probably going to go to the cabin crew first, right? Because that's the most important thing: is get the cabin crew ready for their trained emergency procedures, and then if you get around to it, somebody puts an announcement out on the PA.
Right.
Pilot flying or pilot monitoring puts an announcement out to the PA, to the passengers saying, "Hey, we're going to return because we've had an engine failure."
Okay. So in answer to your question then, Carlos, if I was made aware that we were only flying on one engine. Given what I know now, my reaction would be, oh, okay, not ideal, but hey. As where, if you asked me this, 6 years ago? Something like that? 6 years? Something like 6 years. If you asked me that question 6 years ago, I would have probably... I'd have probably just gone quiet, gone pale. I mean, it wouldn't be the greatest news I'd ever heard if I'd been informed that there was a...
Tony S says he thinks that you are a closet aviation expert.
A closet... I mean, we can have a conversation about a closet if you like.
And Richard Adams is adamant that you'll be calmer still after your first skydive.
After my okay, we still on that, are we? Right, okay. I thought that had died.
They will never forget that. Yes, Armando.
Carlos, I'll actually return that same question to you. So, would you be trying to figure everything out, knowing what noises are normal and not normal? Would you actually be more nervous knowing that something is not right?
I don't think I'd be nervous, but I would be. I'll be one of those. In my head, I'll be wanting to go up and help. If that sounds weird,
Carlos, you requesting a cockpit visit during an emergency is not going to help the crew. All right, I need to put that out there straight away.
But I've flown it on the sim at home so many times.
The sim is not the same. Weirdly, one thing I will take away from the fact that obviously having been on this show is. I am, because of the conversations we've had with Armando, we've been lucky enough to have in-depth conversations with the likes of Captain Jeff and Captain Al and Rick and all these amazing, senior pilots. And the one thing that I do know is that when they're the people in that cockpit are the most well-trained people you will ever come across. So, if anybody can get... Because let's be honest, they don't want to die either. So it's just like...
True.
They're clearly going to... if they're not going to...
Thank you, Matt. That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, self-preservation is a real thing, even if you're a pilot.
Dear.
But genuinely, that's the one thing. So the one thing I have learned from here is that I know how hard it is to get in the cockpit in the first place as a pilot. If nothing else, the financial commitment. But we'll gloss over that and move on. So actually, no. I would be confident that the people who are in that cockpit. What have you found now?
Lane is in the chat
room.
Is
he? Oh,
yes,
no.
He's back.
Where have you been, by the way?
Where have you been, Lane?
Yes, I was going to say, I want your excuse report, please.
Lane's asking what this is.
What on you? Yes. Well, we have many questions, but yes.
Matt said that he's got one. I need to get one, so I got one.
Yeah, mine's a full-on beard though. You see. Anyway, let's not get started on Armando's.
Anyway,
it's a fabulous beard. Yeah,
moving on.
Okay. We're being told off in our ears, people. We need to move on.
We're waffling. So this one comes to us from the flyer.co.uk. Take flight pair set new UK county record. So the irrepressible boss of Take Flight Aviation, Mike Roberts, has been out setting another world record with fellow pilot Nick Rogers. The pair set a new record for most UK counties visited in a 24-hour period earlier this month. The record has yet to be confirmed by the Guinness Book of World Records. Mike Roberts said Nick, who is a commercial pilot, has had plenty of time on his hands during lockdown, so he enjoyed planning the challenge while furloughed. Apparently he just showed up for the fun bit. The pair also hold the record, world record, for the most countries visited in a day by an aircraft, set in 2019 when they landed at 16 European destinations in one day. Wow, that's not bad going. This time they started at Perth Airport in Scotland at 3:55 a.m. My word, that must have been chilly. And made their way south. They eventually stopped at Newquay in Cornwall, lovely part of the country. That
it is a lovely part of the country.
18 hours later at 9:50 p.m, making a total of 50 full-stop landings in 50 different counties in the UK. Poor weather and low cloud in southern Scotland, surprise, surprise, and northern England meant they were forced to drop 2 airfields and another in Wales was missed due to time constraints. Airfields visited ranged from international airports like Birmingham, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Prestwick and Liverpool, down to farm strips and everything in between. The plane landed with only minutes to spare as the airfield had to be clear from 10 p.m. It was closing the following day for G7 arrivals. Nick Rogers said that most of the people were contacted. They were incredibly supportive, and it's a shame we couldn't stop and chat for more than a few seconds on the ground. We even had an enthusiastic chap turn out at 4 a.m. in the morning to greet us at one of our first landing sites. Many of the airfields waived their normal landing fees, and the pair are donating the equivalent amount of money to various air ambulance charities across the UK. Very good charity that, hoping to raise around £1,000. The aircraft used was a Cessna 172 Skyhawk, awesome aircraft, operated by Take Flight Aviation, which is now based at Enstone Airfield. The company allows members to hire the aircraft with no minimum daily hours requirement, which means club members can explore new destinations cost effectively and take the aircraft away for a day or weekend or even a week and only pay for the hours they fly. Armando, what do you think of that then for obviously guys here in the UK?
Well, it's an amazing feat because it's not airports in the UK are not public use or public airports like they are here in the US. So just the logistics that probably went into planning this mission is impressive alone, to be able to plan these airfields, contact the operators, make sure that you have enough time to land, pay your landing fee if they even charge it to you, and do the flight planning around such congested airspace like we were talking about a couple episodes ago. Really kind of an impressive feat. You know, the distances aren't tremendously great, but if anybody ever gets a chance to fly in the UK, it's so unique for general aviation that you should definitely do so. This is a pretty impressive feat, I think. I'm impressed by it.
I bet some of the airports charged a landing fee.
Oh, I bet you they did. I found out because remember, like, we don't have that here in the U.S. At least not for general aviation.
Fees. Oh wow!
No, we don't have it for general aviation.
Okay.
There's a landing fee for like a 737 if you come in, but general aviation, almost everything, 95% is public use, and even then, like, you don't have to pay for anything. And I did find out that they will track you down because I landed at one airport in the UK and I didn't know about this, so I just kind of landed, walked around for a little bit, came back. Nobody briefed me on it. Like I always said, I'm from Washington, like I'm a Puerto Rican from Washington DC, but with a Texas accent on the radio in the UK, you can get away with a lot. And but they eventually did track down the tail number and to the place that I was running from, and it was that Cub that was there in Bury St. Edmunds, but they eventually tracked me down, and I just, mea culpa, and I paid them the £20 or whatever.
Wow, goodness me, that's I feel like I need to apologise to Armando for that. I don't know. Speaking out, as an English person here in the UK, I almost feel ashamed that you were put through that, frankly. Richard Adams Richard Adams say fuel availability often varies massively from field to field and week to week.
Yeah.
Agree, great planning
and
is
prices
needed, going
well.
back to the story.
Prices vary
as well. Oh, wow,
okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, there we go. Okay, we'll move on to the next story now, and it's Flight Global is the source again here. Convertible air car, careful, vehicle carries out flight between Slovakian airports. This is quite cool. Creators of a road vehicle which can transition to an aircraft have carried out a developmental flight between airports in Slovakia, operating a 35-minute sortie from Nitra to the capital Bratislava. Very well done. Oh, thank you very much. The Klein Vision air car, which has already completed over 40 hours of test flights, carried out the intercity operation on the 28th of June. After landing, at a click of a button, the aircraft transformed itself into a sports car in under 3 minutes, says the developer. The wings fold upwards and then rearwards, and the twin boom tail also retracts during the conversion. Arrival of the aircraft, Oscar Mike Kilo Lima Zulu, brought to 142 the number of landings achieved. The vehicle was subsequently driven to downtown Bratislava by the inventor, Professor Stefan Klein. This flight starts a new era of dual transportation vehicles, says Klein, adding that it returns the freedom originally attributed to cars back to individuals. Powered by a BMW engine, delivering 160 horsepower, that doesn't seem like a lot, to a fixed propeller. The initial prototype of the air car is fitted with a ballistic parachute. The test flight program has included operating to altitudes of 8,200 feet and speeds of 103 knots, and featured 45-degree banking. The Slovakian-based Klein Vision says the inter-airport flight moves the vehicle closer to production. A second prototype will have a more powerful 300 horsepower engine and a variable pitch propeller, and be capable of 540 nautical miles in range and a cruising speed of 162 knots. This pre-production version will be submitted for European Union Aviation Safety Agency certification and approved for road use. Aircar is no longer just a proof of concept, says Klein Vision, who's the co-founder, or says Klein Vision's co-founder, Anton Zajac. It has turned science fiction into a reality.
Would you want one, Matt? An air car? A car? You know?
Honestly?
I mean, it would cut down a hell of a lot on the traffic issues that we're currently experiencing here in East Anglia with the amount of roadworks going on everywhere.
No, is my answer to that.
Actually, I think one of these would be ideal for Armando, because I know, Armando, this would be immensely beneficial to you in the US.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You would never have to worry about renting the crew car, because when you land somewhere, it's always hit or miss whether you get a 1995 Ford Crown Victoria as a crew car or a 2020 Audi A8 or something.
So now weirdly, there is a picture here that we've got that I mean, it's not as awful as I expected.
It doesn't look too bad.
If I'm honest, I had a I mean, it's. I mean, they say sports car.
If you go up to the EAA museum in Oshkosh, there is a 1949 Aero car that's sitting there. It actually flew, and I think the first flying car was actually in 1946. Charles Lindbergh flew one in 1950. It was called the Airphibian.
Wow.
So this is not a new thing.
No.
But maybe they can make it work. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, certainly from the front, it looked great. It really does look like a sports car. And then, unfortunately, you've got all these, the other bits.
Other bits that, that
essentially make it fly.
Required,
absolutely. The bits that make it fly, which sort of spoil the aesthetic, if I'm a little unfortunate.
I think it's being followed by like a Piper Cherokee 140 or something like that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, just in case. Yeah. It's imagine it's got parachutes and all that kind of thing. I mean, I sure, why not?
The other thing that I would say as well is it would be a real bugger to get in your garage.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I know that our US friends, obviously, their garages are a heck of a lot bigger than our.
Yes, I mean, I don't think it would go into your garage, for example.
No.
I mean, if nothing else, you'd have nowhere to steer your, sort of store your disco gear.
Exactly.
Yes. And you probably need a much taller roof, for example.
Yes.
Yeah. And many other things like that.
I don't even think that would fit in the driveway.
Indeed. Okay.
So Armando, this last story, we're going over to Canada for this next one.
Yeah, you bet. So Matt's going to play this video out while I read the story. This is actually coming from airlinerwatch.com. On June 23rd, Air Canada premiered what they're calling Ode to Camera. It's a new onboard pre-flight safety video set in some of the country's more spectacular and iconic locations. Now, this new video coming to seat back screens near you takes customers on a stunning journey across Canada while depicting in unexpected ways the safety features of each aircraft. According to Air Canada, they say Air Canada's new Ode to Canada safety video is a celebration of the best of Canada from coast to coast to coast, including our own uniformed employees who are responsible for the safety of every Air Canada flight. Our new video represents all aircraft safety instructions in a compelling, associative way by drawing on some of our country's most spectacular scenery and visually connecting viewers to each province and territory through all 4 seasons. It has been almost 7 years since we last produced a safety video. In choosing to feature Canada, we are also aiming to provide a warm welcome to Canadians traveling home from abroad and inviting all of our customers to join us in exploring everything that Canada has to offer in support of the country's tourism and hospitality sectors. You guys, if you're listening to the audio podcast, you can go on YouTube and find it from Air Canada, or you can come over to our YouTube page and come check it out here. But let's listen to a little bit of it.
Seatbelt and no smoking signs are located throughout the aircraft. Please comply with them at all times.
I mean, one thing I will say, all of these, they I just like the BA ones and stuff. They're always filmed so beautifully, aren't they? Was it Air New Zealand that did a similar one where it was sort of featuring the beautiful landscapes of New Zealand and stuff like that? Am I speaking out of turn?
I think so.
It's a beautiful thing.
I think we need to go and visit Auntie Liz.
We do,
and
very
sample
much so.
some of these.
My
these
cousin lives in
awesome
Yellowknife, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you remember my cousin?
Yeah, we had him on the show.
We did,
God,
yeah.
a long while ago.
That was in the conservatory.
Yeah,
that was it, all those years ago. Yeah, we'll have to have him on again to talk about what he's been up to lately. Yeah. He flies in like sort of was it Alaska and places like that, wasn't he? You'd love to hear his stories, Armando. You really would. Oh, kind of deflating to climb a rock and find a uniformed flight crew. At a good point, yeah. Good point, well made. Thanks, Lane. I've missed Lane. Where has he been?
I mean, it looks really cold.
Where's my note?
Looks really cold.
I still want a note, by the way, Lane. Where is your excuse?
It looks really cold in various parts of this video, but I tell you what, you could have a really good proper snowball fight there.
Right. Okay. Shall we move on?
Okay.
I think we're done. Okay, so we're going to go to caption this now, I believe. This week, as always, a certain Carlos whose camera is on him, so you talk.
Okay.
You do it,
Yeah, for those of you who follow us...
While I find the picture. Go on.
For those of you who follow us on social media will know that every Wednesday we do our Caption This Picture. We put a picture up on our Facebook page, and we ask you guys and girls to send your humorous captions to said photo. We've had loads of interest again this week. It's a very popular part of the show. We are glad we brought this in. And this week's picture, what would you say, Armando? Give us your rough guesstimate of what this photo shows, just for those who are listening to the audio podcast.
Well, if you were to mix Airport 77 with Bill Paxton's Twister, this is what this would be. All right, now this is a 747 taking off from a runway with what appears at least an F2, F3 tornado in the background. So I think any American Airlines pilot probably experiences this on a monthly basis into and out of Dallas, Fort Worth, or really anywhere out west. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's at the aircraft is at the departure end of the runway. The tornado is touching down at the arrival end of the runway. So
would you say that's a tailwind, Armando?
Well, I guess on one side of the runway it's a tailwind. The other side is a headwind. A 200 mile per hour.
I'm too
actually
tired for this.
when I first saw this picture, I thought, I wonder whether the AN225 had flown over
right yes.
on full pelt.
But, it knocks over the sky this time.
With the smoke, I mean, with just a black smoke.
Shall we read some of the captions?
We have.
Indeed, yes.
I'll kick off with Glenn. Glenn says, Captain says to first officer, I bet we can outrun this tornado, but if we can't, then it was nice knowing you.
Oh dear, that's a bit
Very good.
it's a bit dark, isn't it? Dirk says, "I told you to take this meta class, but of course you wouldn't. The meta class, but of course you wouldn't listen to me."
That's a meteorological chart.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Very good,
Right.
yeah.
Oh, I should know that. Really, one of my friends
know.
is an actual
He is,
meteorologist. Yes.
Armando?
Jeffrey sends in your best calm captain voice over the intercom. You say, "Good news, everyone. This tailwind will have us at our destination in record time."
True.
John says, think you can outrun a twister? You have 15 seconds to comply.
Right. Yes. Okay. James says when the captain's girlfriend calls to say she's home alone and just wants to. Oh, I'm going to stop reading there. Moving on. Next. You get the gist.
Well, this one's not that much better. Brent says, when your rubber dog boop, from Hong Kong has guaranteed 2-day prime.
Good point.
Daniel says, oh, blimey.
Yeah, don't say that word.
Daniel
We'll be taken off air.
says, I'm getting the heck out of here.
Yeah, indeed. Matt, not me, says, and if you look out of your left window, you'll see no right window, no left window.
I like that.
Oh, gosh. From friend of the show, Stephen, making fun of another friend of the show, Rick, after breaking wind.
Oh, dear.
Oh,
my.
I would have said Captain Al as well.
Captain Al,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
much so. Yes, absolutely.
Stephen says, he says send it after that. and
Finally,
Micah.
Uncle Micah says those wingtip is it vertices?
Vortices?
Vortices. Those wingtip vortices are bigger than I thought. You're not kidding. As you say, I like your one with with a certain Russian aircraft flying in there with all the black smoke and everything all pouring out. It's
Alex
Yeah.
Robinson.
Yeah, there's some good ones in the chat
is
room.
there?
Let's see.
Okay,
Yeah,
come on.
go on,
Pop
Armando.
up on screen, John. Let's see him.
Let's see. So Richard Adams says, V1, deploy chemtrails.
I like that.
Let's see. From Dirk, it says, tornado sharks on a plane.
Miles High says tornadoes on a plane. Yeah.
Miles High, if a Ryanair tornado, probably a rough landing.
Oh dear. And then Alex Robbins says, after then landing tornado, line up and wait.
Oh, you know what? That's funny because that's probably what the tower would say. They'd be like, "Hey, do you have the tornado in sight? In sight. Okay, clear for takeoff. 1, 2, 3."
Go.
Armando, do take what Dirk's one there. He's got a good one there.
After V2 comes V3, vertical rotation.
Right. Okay. What was Miles High? Other one there. Sorry.
Climb, baby.
Yeah, climb, baby.
climb.
Lane Street is also saying. I thought you meant a
Panavia.
Panavia tornado. Wow. Okay.
That was
Yeah,
good
that
this
was a good
week.
one.
That was good this week. That was good. Well done, everyone.
Yes.
Don't forget to check
Good
out
work.
our Facebook page. If you don't follow us already, go over to Facebook and give our page a like, and you'll find those posts on there on a Wednesday. So check out those, and we'll feature you on the show next week. So make sure you check us out on there.
Indeed.
So we're going to hand things over, I think, to Armando for the next part of the show.
We have plenty of time. Matt, if you're ready, hit the button. I can't hear it. Okay, guys, for this first military story, it's not, we're still developing the story, so we're probably going to bring it to you again next week, but kind of breaking news just in the past couple hours or past day, a Belgian F-16 fighter has crashed into a building after the pilot lost control. That's according to a report. The jet was said to have experienced, quote, problems during takeoff at Leeuwarden Air Base. This is in the Netherlands, I believe. And emergency services have rushed to the scene, large numbers, after the incident was reported at 9:22 in the morning. The pilot was taken to hospital with an injured leg, according to some reports, while another Belgian soldier, Belgium, not the Netherlands. Another Belgian soldier was nearby and also taken to hospital as a precaution. Now, according to these reports, the fighter jet went several meters into a building, but no one was inside that building at the time. On Thursday morning, the incident took place with an F-16 at Leeuwarden Air Base. That's according to the Dutch Air Force they are telling the NL Netherlands Times, I assume. They are currently assessing the situation. They're going to find out more, and we'll try to bring this to you next week. But whatever it was, it seems like it was probably either a taxi out or a takeoff or not a takeoff, but some kind of maintenance procedure gone terribly wrong. So we'll bring that back to you next week. But for this first military story, we're going to move on. So Colombian President Iván Duque's helicopter was hit by gunfire. This helicopter was carrying the president as it flew near the border with Venezuela. The president was flying towards Cúcuta in the Norte de Santander province, alongside the defense minister, the interior minister, and the province's governor. A spokesperson for the presidency said that no one was hurt during the incident. Mr. Duque denounced the attack as a cowardly attack. He said he was not frightened by violence or acts of terrorism. Our state is strong, and Colombia is strong to confront this kind of threat, he said in a video address that he posted on Twitter. So security forces are under orders to find those responsible, according to the president. Nobody was hurt in the incident. A local newspaper, Semana, reports that the occupants heard a noise as if something had hit the engine just as the helicopter was coming in to land. For now, the leftist National Liberation Army, or the Ejército de Liberación Nacional, ELN, they're the ones that are operating in the Catatumbo region, which spans the Colombia-Venezuela border. So this could have gone really, really bad. From the pictures that Matt was showing up there, it seemed like most of it was small arms fire. I would assume just kind of rifles or something like that, and it went through the carbon composite. But it did hit the tail section, the tail boom, which has a lot of critical parts on a Black Hawk, and this was a H-60 Black Hawk. So I'm glad that didn't turn out to be worse. Another shooting that happened, an Ethiopian Air Force C-130 was shot down by a paramilitary rebel group. This Hercules was shot down by the Tigray People's Liberation Front on June 23rd near Gijet in the Tigray region, killing dozens of people on board. The C-130 transport aircraft belonging to Squadron 15 at Debre Zeit Air Base was reportedly transporting explosives and ammunition in addition to personnel to an unknown destination. The paramilitary rebel group in Ethiopia claimed responsibility for the shootdown of the aircraft. This aircraft in particular was donated to the Ethiopian Air Force by the United States in 2014. This paramilitary rebel group is fighting against the current Ethiopian government. This conflict between the TPLF and the Ethiopian Air Force began in November after the TPLF reportedly attacked a national military base. Now, two totally different outcomes to different shootings at aircraft, or military aircraft, which just kind of, I don't know, highlights the danger of some of this military aviation stuff that we follow, isn't it?
It's terrible news. There's also lots of pictures and stuff on social media, the crash obviously, but loss of life is never a good thing.
So let's go from the explained to the unexplained.
Yeah, we should be queuing up the X-Files music for this next one.
Oh no, I did that once, and we got emails and told off,
we
didn't
we?
Yeah. So don't do that.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, geez, nerds.
Yeah, nerd alert. So this one comes from theconversation.com, and the Pentagon report says UFOs can't be explained, and this admission is a big deal. A report from the US task force dedicated to the investigation of UFOs, or in the official jargon, UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, has neither confirmed nor rejected the idea such sightings could indicate alien visits to Earth. On Friday, the 25th of June, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, or ODNI, released its eagerly awaited unclassified intelligence report titled Preliminary Assessment, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. The document is a brief 9-page version of a larger classified report provided to the Congressional Services and Armed Services Committee. It assesses the threat posed by unidentified aerial phenomena and the progress of the Department of Defense Identified Aerial Phenomena Task Force has made in understanding this threat. The report certainly does not, as many were hoping, conclude UFOs are alien spacecraft. Rather, it shows the task force hasn't made much progress since first being set up 10 months ago. Perhaps this is unsurprising given its task. However, the task force's very existence would have been unthinkable to many people just 1 year ago. It's unprecedented to see the broader policy shift towards the acknowledgement of UFOs as real, anomalous physical and phenomena that are worthy of extended scientific and military analysis. The report withholds specific details of data samples, which consists of 144 UFO reports made by mostly military aviators between 2004 and 2021. Its bombshell finding is that a handful of UAPs appeared to demonstrate advanced technology. They should see this studio then. This handful, 21 of the 144 reports, represents a classic UFO enigmas. These objects appeared to remain stationary in winds aloft, move against the wind, and maneuver abruptly or move at considerable speed without discernible means of propulsion. In a similar number of cases, military aircraft systems possess radio frequency or RF energy associated with UAP sightings. These characteristics indicate some UAPs may intelligently be intelligently controlled because they aren't blown around by the wind and electromagnetic as they emit radio frequencies. In March, former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe told Fox News that some reports describe objects travelling at speeds that exceed the sound barrier with a sonic boom. Sonic booms are sound waves generated by objects breaking the sound barrier. No known aircraft, I should say, can travel faster than sound without creating a sonic boom. NASA is currently developing a quiet supersonic technology. Be interesting to see that, which may allow planes to break the sound barrier while issuing subdued sonic thump. So UFOs, Armando, obviously you've spent the most time out of all of us in the air. How many UFOs have you seen flying around you since your flying days started?
1 for me, 2 for my dad.
Cool.
Yeah.
And my dad was an airline pilot in the Caribbean. Luis Caceres, who is a supporter of the show, he is familiar with Prunner Airlines and Puerto Rico International Airlines. And my dad told me 2 stories about just this: lights in the sky in the middle of the night over the Caribbean. And they said at the time, this was the 80s. At the time, they just didn't report it to anyone because they would just label them as loony. So if I was the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, basically their report just says,
I don't know.
It just says shrug emoji.
Yeah, indeed.
Miles High says in the chat room that the report was pure government Bravo Sierra.
Oh, right. Okay, good. Lovely.
We'll see.
We'll see. Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
If you see that documentary Independence Day with Will Smith,
yes,
that's the real truth.
Oh,
yes,
that is my favourite film of all time.
Brilliant documentary.
Do you know?
that.
I haven't seen the version. I'm going to buy, and I love the second one as well. I don't care what anyone says. I enjoy both of them.
They were great documentaries. Yeah,
They were great documentaries. Yeah. Absolutely, 100% agreed. Shall we move on?
Let's bring it back to Earth.
Yeah,
Matt, bring us back to Earth.
Yeah, indeed. This is on the Aviationist website, and the headline is, "It's official now. Switzerland has chosen the F-35s as the next Swiss Air Force fighter." So the Swiss Federal Council announced Lockheed Martin's F-35 Lightning II is the, I assume that's 2 and not 11. Have I
Yes, 2.
That is the Lightning II.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Is the aircraft
Well done, Matt.
selected from its new fighter aircraft competition? It won against the Dassault Rafale.
Dassault.
The Dassault. I do that every time, don't I?
No.
So close. I give with one hand, I take away with the other. It won against the Dassault Rafale.
Yep, good enough.
Okay. Rafale, lovely. Eurofighter Typhoon and the Boeing Super Hornet. As some insiders had already revealed last week, the F-35 has won the Swiss evaluation to find a replacement for the F-5 Tiger and the F-18 Hornet jets currently in service with the Swiss Air Force. As a consequence of the Air 2030 evaluation program, the Federal Council has decided to procure 36 F-35As. The Federal Council will ask Parliament to procure 36 F-35A fighter aircraft from the US manufacturer Lockheed Martin and the procurement of 5 Patriot fire units from the US manufacturer Raytheon. Don't they make graphics cards? No, perhaps just me. In the evaluation, the two systems achieved the highest overall benefit and, at the same time, the lowest overall cost. The Federal Council is convinced that the two systems are best suited to protecting the Swiss population from airborne threats in future as well. It made the decision at its meeting on the 30th of June 2021, says an official Swiss MOD statement. The Swiss Federal Council based its decision on the extensive technical evaluation, which included 4 candidates for a new fighter aircraft: the Eurofighter Typhoon, the Dassault Rafale, the Boeing Super Hornet and the Lockheed Martin F-35. Interestingly, the F-35 scored first also in terms of cost. According to the Swiss MOD, the Lightning was the aircraft with the highest overall utility and by far the cheapest. Very interesting indeed. That's I mean, it's a well-known aircraft. I mean, it's presumably that's one of the reasons why they're going down that route. Is it perhaps plenty of support?
Yeah, I think commonality is a big thing. So especially among the allied nations, I think having a similar platform where you can share not just training but tactics, techniques and procedures, TTPs as we say, amongst all of your partner nations. I think so many people are going with the F-35. It's a bit like the F-16, right? Like in the 80s, the F-16 and the F-15 was promulgated out to our partner nations. Similarly, like whether you're in the Eastern Bloc or wherever, you have your partner nations that you share your technology with. So the F-35 is just kind of the one-trick pony of all of that. Yeah. I love how they say it's cost effective. It's $80 million per.
Yeah. Cheap then. Yeah. But then, as you say, I suppose there's plenty of support available again if it's an aircraft that is used by many partner nations, and there aren't very many air forces now that do run missions on their own. Should I say? I mean, quite often as you say, there's another partner involved, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
So moving on to the last one on the list here. This comes to us from warbirdsnews.com. And moving over to the UK for this one, great bit of news this one. Norman Chapman celebrates his 100th birthday at Duxford.
Woohoo!
So on June the 14th at Duxford, the writer of the story was asked to attend Norman Chapman's 100th birthday. Norman was one of the pioneering engineers in the UK warbird movement, and for many years he restored, maintained and provided engineering services of every kind in support of Rob Lampo's fleet of historic aircraft. He's best known for leading the restoration of Rob's combat veteran P-51D Mustang called Miss Helen, a project which he started at Duxford in 1977. Blimey, we were only 1 year old then, Matt. And
at least we were born.
I know. And arguably one of the most significant UK projects since it essentially kicked off the whole UK warbird restoration movement. At Norman's 100th birthday party this week, they took a group photograph featuring all of Rob Lampo's original ground support team and crew. Miss Helen first post-restoration flight took place on the 5th of May 1987 with Lloyd Hamilton at the controls. Great picture there for those of you watching on YouTube. Norman started his aviation career during World War II working on Bristol Blenheims, another one of my favourite aircraft there, with the Royal Air Force's No. 71 Maintenance Unit in both the Battle of France in May May 1940, and the Battle of Britain in July-October 1940, post-war. He worked for many aircraft owners and spent many years working alongside Sir Freddie Laker. Ooh, I know that name very well. Maintaining aircraft in the Laker Airways fleet. He also provided engineering services to many warbird owners throughout the 1980s and 1990s, working on a wide variety of different types of aircraft. He is a remarkable man with a remarkable history. That's safe to say, yes, definitely that one.
Absolutely. Just worth mentioning also that lovely picture there with everyone that was taken by Richard Paver, and also the story, the article that we just read was also written by Richard Paver as well. Great story, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And to be at that great age and have that kind of heritage behind you.
What a great lineup. It's so nice that the whole crew were there as well. I think that's such a lovely thing.
And I can't believe he worked with Sir Freddie Laker. Blimey.
Yeah.
The Skytrain era there with the DC-10s. Quite a few years ago, Matt. In the 80s, that was.
Okay. I've heard of that.
I know.
Yeah.
I bet you have. So
Matt's heard of the 80s.
He's heard of the 80s.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the 80s. yeah, absolutely. It was a great era. Great music in the 80s.
Oh, yes. Gemma would definitely agree with
absolutely.
you on that one.
Indeed.
Well, you know what, Matt? I'll give you a pass. You don't even have to know what kind of airplane that is. You just have to say it's pretty.
It is pretty. I will give you that. It is very pretty.
Really pretty.
Yeah. I do know that is a Mustang, though.
Very good. Very good.
Extra, you get brownie points then.
Forgive my, and I'm probably going to absolutely undo all my good work today. Did that not also share the Merlin engine?
It did.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
It did.
This is really just someone.
I don't know what to say.
Someone's replaced Matt with a droid.
There's a bit of a story behind that because I don't know if I don't think you guys have had the privilege. Oh yes, you have. You've had the pleasure of meeting Tom, my friend Tom. His dad is often at Old Buck and all that kind of thing. I know John's met Tom as well. There's we have this thing because we think, and I've said it on the show before, the Merlin engine, I do feel really did change military aviation. I do feel that engine really was literally a game changer. And so whenever we go to places like the Science Museum, because they've got one there, Duxford, because they've got a beautiful example of it there in that first hangar where Concorde is, haven't they? And so we always go and pay homage to the Merlin engine, and we both look like Muppets when we do it, but we both get on our knees and just do that.
It sounds amazing as well.
Absolutely, it is a beautiful engine. Absolutely. So it sounds like impressive knowledge. It's been basically drummed into me by my friend Tom. That's the only reason that I know that. In fact, if I remember correctly, it was shared with 3 aircraft in its lifetime, didn't it?
A few. Actually, it was in the Lancaster, the Mosquito.
Lancaster, that was what I was thinking. Yeah. Yeah, the Lancaster was the one I was thinking. I knew there was a 3rd aircraft, but it wouldn't come to me. That that was a step too far.
It's an unmistakable sound.
It is a beautiful sound, yeah.
And it's a highlight. What a small thing to stand out in your mind so much. But when I used to live in Bury St. Edmunds, I lived in the town center, and a couple times a year, the Spitfire would just come and do. Whether it was Remembrance Day or some kind of other ceremony going on, it would just do these low passes over the town center there in Bury St. Edmunds. So it was just this iconic thing. I know I get super emotional when I talk about this stuff, but I'm sitting there, and my house was 200 years old. The Abbey in Bury St. Edmunds is 1,000 years old. And this beautiful Spitfire is doing aerobatic maneuvers over the Abbey there, and it transcends time, and you just didn't know where you were in the time-space continuum, and it was just one of the most beautiful things and the most beautiful sounds in the world.
Agreed. Actually,
Rolls-Royce, good job.
Weirdly, one of my good job, Rolls-Royce, good job. Yeah. Shame the game slipped a bit of late. But we'll gloss over the 21,000 and move on, shall we? There we go. See, another engine. See. What's happened to me? What the hell?
Oh my word. It's X-Files. He's been beamed up to the USS Enterprise.
Do you know? Actually, you say that because I love Bury St Edmunds, and it's one of the few locations I miss not going to as a coach driver. And one of my greatest memories actually was, I think was the second to last time I saw you, Armando, before you went home, and we met at the winter market. I think with your
Christmas fair.
Yeah, the Christmas fair with
Bury
your base buddy. And Lisa and Lee, Lee, who still definitely listens to the podcast while he's driving buses, bless him. And as I say, that's one of my sort of favourite memories was our time wandering around the Christmas markets at Bury St Edmunds. Actually, there you go.
Yeah.
So
what a great place to be.
Social media links before we wrap up then.
Oh, okay.
For those of you...
Carlos is on it today.
Actually, I was going to say, Armando, just for a change this week, do you want to let the
No,
listeners
he won't
know
remember them. He won't
where
know
they
them.
can...
Oh, well, you know what? I don't even have access to them. But hey, if you want to find us on social media, Carlos and Matt and John can reach out to you. You just have to go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just search for Plain Talking UK. We always appreciate any pictures or stories or just random text to our WhatsApp number, which is +44 757, Matt's favorite number, 2249166. You can email us at podcast@plaintalkinguk.com, or just go to the website plaintalkinguk.com, and it's got all our information on there. And if you're listening to us on the audio podcast, why not come see our beautiful faces and go over to YouTube? Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you have some extra coin in your bank, why not support us on Patreon or PayPal? And then you'll get access to some of our behind the scenes stuff. I think I've decided I'm making this executive decision right now.
Ooh.
I think we should make a bloopers video.
Oh, well,
I love
Armando,
it.
have you
You
any
love it.
idea
I love
the
it.
work that goes... Have you any idea?
I don't, which is why I'm proposing it.
Right, thanks. Thanks. I love
okay.
you. Yeah, okay.
John, good luck with that. Matt, good luck with that. You guys come over to Patreon and you'll see their hard work, the fruits of their labor. We'll see.
Right. How long have we got to do this, Armando? Just out of interest. I mean,
it's
time
indefinite and non-committal.
Excellent. Good.
So that is where we are going to bring episode 374 to a close of the show. Big thanks to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room this evening. Massive thanks to you all for taking time out on your Friday. Also, not forgetting everyone who listens to us as an audio podcast. Thank you to you all as well. And don't forget, if you do download us through iTunes or one of the other amazing podcast apps, to send us a little rating or review, I should say, on iTunes. We'd appreciate that very much indeed as well. We haven't had one for a while, so it'd be nice to see a rating on iTunes. If you get 5 minutes just to leave us one on there, it'd be great. So that is it then, guys and girls, from me and Matt here in the P2K Master Suite Studios, from Armando in his temporary studio across in the US, and from John in the voice in our ear. A big thank you to him as well for all his pre-show work for the show this week. Thanks to you, John. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend, and see you all next Friday.
Bye-bye, everyone.